What's going on, everyone? So the Lakers need physicality and they need defense. And in all honesty, the best trade destination to acquire that may be the Toronto Raptors, right? Bruce Brown and Jakob Poeltl could potentially be the pieces that the Lakers need, right? So you're looking at the Lakers. Lakers want to get a center, right? That's based on recent reports, kind of their biggest priority right now. They want to get a center. Top of getting a center, ideally you could use a point of attack guard. And the Lakers have even talked about they want to get a center and they want to get a guard. Well, just so happens that a team like the Toronto Raptors have that. I mean, there's several other teams we've talked about, but I haven't really dove too much into Toronto itself. There's also several other pieces that could make sense. I mean, even like a Kelly Olynyk can make some sense. He's making $12 million this year. Let's call it $13 million. It's like 12 and some change. But you got to remember, Lakers got to send out more than they take back. Jakob Poeltl, on the other hand, he's making 19 and a half. And then Bruce Brown, he's in the 20. But Bruce Brown is expiring. That's something you got to keep in mind. So you'd have some flexibility there in the offseason while bringing in a guy that could help you this season. But he's making $23 million plus Jakob Poeltl's $19.5 million. So you're looking at a basically $43 million that you'd roughly have to send out, which the Lakers can while retaining Reeves and everything else, right? You could do Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent. You have to send out Jared Vanderbilt, right? Right there, that gets you, what, 28, 38 million, throw in a Jalen Hood-Schifino, and say a Jackson Hayes. Boom, there's the money you need to go get Bruce Brown as well as a Jakob Poeltl. Yes, it's a 5-for-2 swap, but Lakers were able to clear off some salary from the trade with Brooklyn. So you'd be able to bring in, you have $3 million, which depending on who you bring in, because the minimums are based on like experience, stuff like that, you could probably bring in 2 vet minimum guys like a Quincy and a Koloko, right? Especially if you're sending out like a Hayes or something like that. Worst case, right? Because you wouldn't be able to get both for 2 seconds. So maybe you're doing like a second and a pick swap, right? Maybe you're trading one of your first, but like protected, right? A protected first. Although I don't believe they can put protections on, what is it, the 2031 pick. I don't think they can put protections on, right? So do you work something like that out to where maybe the 2029 pick you're putting protections on, and then maybe doing like 1 second and then, a pick swap or something like that, right? There's flexibility there. What would it take, right? I wouldn't do a pick swap and a first. I'm talking about a pick swap and a second, or a first heavily protected and a second, somewhere in that range for it. Like top 15 protected, something like that, right? Kind of like what the Memphis Grizzlies wanted to do to acquire Cam Johnson. And also, you got to keep in mind, you'd be freeing up roster spots. You'd be getting 2 pieces that probably make you a contender at that point, in my opinion, right? Because you'd get a big physical interior presence that can operate around the rim, better defensively than like a Jonas Valanciunas and even a Nikola Vucevic. Not as skilled offensively as those guys, but that big physical center that can rebound and get you buckets, right? You can still make some passes and some plays out of the post, which is good, and then you're getting a Bruce Brown for that point of attack. The biggest problem here would be with Bruce Brown. So Bruce Brown, you probably start. So you're probably going Bruce Brown, Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Or do you go big and go like Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Jakob Poeltl? But the problem with that is like, again, I don't like LeBron and the idea of LeBron at the 3, especially for Jakob Poeltl. I've made the argument for, Vucevic, Nikola Vucevic, because he is so skilled and so versatile offensively and is probably the best center available, right? Like, he's legit probably a top 10 center at worst. I think you could argue probably even like a top 7 center. I mean, he's a legit 20-10 guy that can rebound, shoot the 3 ball on efficiency, like all of it, right? So I think it's more justifiable than a Jakob Poeltl. But would a Jakob Poeltl want to come off the bench is the problem, right? Would he be willing to be that maybe for a contender? Yes, right? He's like, hey, we're trying to win a championship here. Yes, I want to win a championship. On Toronto, he's probably like, nah, like I'm not coming off the bench for Toronto. But, a team like the Lakers where it's like, hey, I can I can go there, be there, try to win a championship, and you kind of got him locked up. He's also on the right side of 30 still, so you'd still have him for a couple years and even post the LeBron era potentially, right? So I like that better, that versatility, that flexibility. On any given night, if Anthony Davis or LeBron get the night off, Jakob Poeltl can start. I mean, Jakob Poeltl is probably still going to start half the games this season by the time the Lakers actually trade for him, right? And you could still do things like you can run units where you have Jakob Poeltl, LeBron James, right? You could do like Bruce Brown, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Jakob Poeltl for stints, right? And then Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, or Austin Reeves and Bruce Brown, right? Like, you'd have so much kind of versatility in that lineup between those, like, 6 guys. And then you also have, a Shake Milton and, a Max Christie and a Dalton Connect and these things. Like, I really kind of like that for your kind of front 6. And Jakob Poeltl might be the best, like, defensive center that we can get outside of Walker Kessler, of course, but how realistic is Walker Kessler is where the problem lies. Obviously, again, Walker Kessler is my ideal scenario. So if you can get Walker Kessler, do whatever you have to do to go get Walker Kessler. But for a Bruce Brown and a Jakob Poeltl, you solve your point of attack guard position, which Bruce Brown is back and looked very good in the most recent stints, right? Even in that second game he just played, he's averaging so far in the season 9 points, 2.5 rebounds, and an assist. But again, he just literally just got back at the time of recording this video, right? But it's more so about his defense and his versatility and what he could do on this team. Plus him alongside LeBron James and Anthony. His best seasons were alongside Jokic. His best seasons would probably be alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis. He'd be much better with those guys than he would be there. And again, you still maintain flexibility. And then Jakob Poeltl gives you that big kind of physical center. Again, maybe you can work out some other pieces, but the problem is just between Jakob Poeltl and Bruce Brown, it's pretty much it, right? Like, unless you're looking to trade Max Christie or a Dalton Connect or an Austin Reeves or something like that, which I just don't see the Lakers doing. The question is, like I said, just becomes 2 things. One, is Jakob Poeltl willing to kind of, come off the bench 50% of the time? Right? Or is he adamant, no, I have to start? Because the thing is, I don't think Bruce Brown cares. I mean, he came off the bench and won a championship, right? Like, Bruce Brown, he doesn't care. I mean, he comes off the bench most of the time for the Raptors anyway, right? Because they're trying to have their young guys get the run, right? So Bruce Brown, I don't think would really care. And so, again, you can make sense with that. My issue is just Jakob Poeltl as far as, the lack of offense, I don't think justifies trying to wear down LeBron. And LeBron would be more needed offensively in that starting unit. And now you're having him kind of be one of the primary defenders out on the perimeter. It's just a lot to ask for. But the second thing, obviously, again, is assets, right? Like I said, are you doing a heavily protected first plus a second? And the reason I want to keep a second, I don't think I explained this at the end, or a moment ago. The reason I want to keep another second is because you might need to unload somebody, like a Jackson Hayes, if let's say you trade Christian Wood instead, or Christian Wood, or even a Cam Reddish. You might have to unload one of these guys, these vet minimum guys, so that way you could free up an extra roster spot. Because again, you have to send out Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and a vet minimum. Right, let's just call it Jackson Hayes. And you bring back Bruce Brown, and you bring back Jakob Poeltl. So you're doing a 5-for-2 swap. Lakers are exactly at 15 roster spots, but they technically have enough money for at least 1, maybe 2 roster spots. So you'd at least need 1 roster spot open, so you may need to kind of salary dump in order to make that work, to where you're salary dumping, another $3 million to bring in 2 more guys, because obviously you'd have to bring in the guy that you're replacing, and then you have to bring in that vet minimum guy. So it'd give the Lakers that flexibility, but I think at that point you have the toughness, you have the physicality, you have the defense, right? You have the lineup versatility. You can go big, you can go small. I mean, you could go huge if you really want to do, right? And have, like I said, you could do Bruce Brown, defensively would be great. Bruce Brown, Dorian Finney-Smith with the LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Jakob Poeltl. If you want a little more offense, like I said, you go Austin Reeves, you go Dalton Connect, right? Like you have just much better balance in that regard, but you're more physical. You're just better as far as like interior goes, perimeter wise, right? Because now you have Dorian Finney-Smith and Bruce Brown out on the perimeter defending. Austin Reeves, if he can kind of stay a version of what we're seeing recently, as far as the offensive versatility goes there, right? Dorian Finney-Smith, I do expect to get comfortable and kind of get into the zone of hitting shots, stuff like that. So you just have the perimeter defense you need, along with that scorer at the 2, LeBron and AD. They're LeBron and AD. And then you have Jakob Poeltl who can come in. So, for example, when we were playing Cleveland, you could go Jakob. Like, hey, man, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are just bullying Anthony Davis right now. Get Jakob Poeltl. And now you have Jakob Poeltl and Anthony Davis, just bigger, right? Bigger versions of those guys, right? So, like, now I think you match up so much better. So, I don't know. Toronto, again, I want to go through various teams and kind of break down and kind of do videos like this about other teams too. But Toronto, I think there's a real argument there, right? Like, again, Jakob Poeltl being 29 still has plenty of room and upside. You know, Bruce Brown's, 28? So you're bringing in guys that help now and the future. If you have to give up a pick swap, I wouldn't give up like an unprotected first for those guys, right? Supposedly you can have Bruce Brown for 2 seconds, right? And let's say you could have Jakob Poeltl for another 2. So let's call it 4 seconds. Okay, well, what is the equivalent of that? Is it a pick swap is like 2 seconds, like a first round pick swap, or is it, like a top 15 protected first, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like if you could do 1 first plus, let's say a second, go get those 2 guys, still save a second so you could salary dump a guy so you could fill out your roster, because you still have to fill out your roster. And then you can fill out your roster, and then boom, clean slate the rest of the way would be my thoughts in that regard. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Hey Phil, what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Disagree? Do you think yes, Toronto is the best option? Get Jakob Poeltl, get Bruce Brown. Do you think no? Stay away from those 2 guys. Go look at Wizards or Chicago or whatever. Like I said, I want to kind of break down because there are like several teams that have that guard and that center. So I want to kind of break down those teams like I did this one. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.